Check it out, they go slide.
Sean Tracy, the development manager over at Crytek. If you don't know what Crytek is, that is the company, the developer, the studio that turns out the Crysis games. They made the engine, the Cry engine. It looks really good. It's really pretty, really taxing. They've been known to push engine technology to the absolute fucking limit. Now, if you're not familiar with the architecture of the Xbox One and the PS4, both are APU setups. Now that is better for power usage, it's better a little bit better in terms of latency, but one of the big faults of APU architecture is that you've got the CPU and the GPU on the same SoC, and they're sharing the same block of memory. And as I said, now that's good if you're trying to manage your latency, but in terms of using up memory, you have to keep in mind now that the CPU and the GPU are going to be sharing the same block of memory. And if you're using slower memory, they might have to tweak things so that they've got more textures moving through more memory. So things might even end up taking up more space. So in the case of the Xbox One, you could end up having, 2 gigabytes for the OS. The game itself could be using up another 2 gigabytes. Suddenly you've only got 4 gigs of VRAM. And as we try to put more and more textures on screen, and we try to make, a larger and larger environment, and we try to load more and more and more, that 4 gigs is going to get smaller and smaller. And 4 gigs might not be small right now, while 2 gigs of GDDR5 is fine for most games, but think in 5 years, if these consoles are going to last 5 years, with the amount of stuff that we're going to try to be jamming onto our screen in 5 years, 4 gigabytes, that might not be so much. I mean, the high-end cards now, we're already seeing a jump on PC to 4 or 6 gigabytes, and that's a really, really fast memory. And now with the launch of DDR4, we could be seeing GDDR6 cards coming in the next 5 years too, so even faster memory. Now, the official quote from Sean Tracy was, I would have to agree with the viewpoint that 8 gigs can be easily filled up, but also keep in mind that developers don't necessarily even have access to all 8 gigs of it. For example, the Xbox One retains some of the RAM for OS purposes, since technology, as Ray Kurzweil states, progresses exponentially. We will soon find that the computational requirements of games will quickly hit the ceilings of a few gigs of RAM. We already had to manage quite intensely our memory usage through Rise, and this will be one of the limiting factors in this generation. So say it right there. It's not even a resolution issue. It's not like we're going to be pushing things to 4K on these machines anyway. It's, again, just jamming shit on the screen, having more polygons, having more textures, having more characters, having more complex light maps. And there you have it. Sean Tracy, who has some pretty decent credentials as someone who's even from Crytek in the first place as far as his understanding of the technology is going to go, supports my idea that, hey, we're already seeing 4 gig and 6 gig cards become standard now. What's going to happen in 5 years? Faster memory, more memory. So this is another argument to say that, is the PlayStation 4 really going to last this entire 10 years like the PS3 did? Is the Xbox One going to last, almost 10 years like the 360 did? I don't think so. I think this is going to be an especially short, especially disappointing console gen, simply because of how, dare I say it, anemic the next gen consoles are. And again, Sean fucking Tracy, who works for Crytek, supports my opinion. But if you don't support my opinion, if you don't agree with me, you can leave a comment about that. If you don't have much to contribute to the discussion, what is your favorite Crysis game? I myself prefer the first Crysis, simply for nostalgia factor and the fact that it can still hurt my computer a lot, even though the game is almost, it's pushing 6 years old now. Also, remember not to forget to like and comment, favorite, subscribe, and stuff. Have a nice day.